For years, I thrived in the high-pressure business world, but the workaholic life finally caught up with me. I was 35, very overweight, in chronic pain with severe mobility issues, terrible diet, no exercise. My health was a complete wreck. Then I went to a gentle yoga class and felt truly relaxed. The stress just melted away. I went from a size 18 to a size 8. I stopped getting sick. Pain disappeared. I learned to open my heart and I felt happy for the first time in years. So I said goodbye to the business world and started teaching. Yoga doesn't have to be strenuous. The easiest movements can trigger major release of chronic symptoms no matter your age.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Hello, I'm Deborah Devine, and that was my story. Real problems caused by an inactive lifestyle. It was limiting my flexibility, and I felt really stiff and achy in the mornings. This can also happen naturally as we age. So I've created a very simple yoga sequence that gently moves new oxygen into our systems, flushing toxins and revving up the metabolism as we enter the day looser and more limber. We'll start on the floor, releasing the spine, the hips, and the upper body, and then we'll release tension in the back line of the body before injecting fresh, strong, new energy all over. You don't have to be in great shape to join me. Do the whole series, or if you're busy, just one or two of the poses. Let's start the healing. Joining me today, Michael. Hello, Michael. Who's got a little bit of stiffness in his knees and hips. And Joan. Welcome, Joan. She's got a little bit of achiness all over. So let's get started with the warm-up. We'll come onto the ground on our backs for a constructive rest position with the knees bent. Use the elbows to help you come down. We're going to take the feet a little bit wider than the hips. And then the next time an out-breath comes along, we'll let the knees move over to the right and the head will move over to the left. And then the in-breath will take everything back to center. An out-breath comes along and the knees move in the opposite direction. The head comes over in the opposite direction of the knees, inhaling back to center. And we continue on, slowing things down. When we first wake up, there is an enormous amount of achiness and stiffness in the lower extremities. And because we haven't been moving very much in nighttime, we have a buildup of lymph in some nooks and crannies in the lower extremities and also in the back and the hips. We are using this pose to help us loosen things up, moving out old energy and creating space for new energy to come in the practice. The knees come back to center. Let's take the feet a little bit wider than the hips. And we'll let the arms come up to the sky, pointing the fingers to the ceiling. And then we'll begin to circle the wrists. We'll begin to circle the wrists and spread the fingers nice and wide. We're opening up some of the connective tissue and the muscles that have been resting all night long. And we're moving some fresh lymph into the hands and the wrists. Now, let's take our hands onto our shoulders, bending our elbows, and begin to make big circles with our elbows here. Wonderful. Then we're going to come back up. Arms are coming out to the sides, and we'll take one leg out long and circle the ankle. We're just circling the ankle, spreading the toes. Wonderful. And then we bend that knee, straighten out the other leg, circling and spreading the toes on the opposite foot. Please continue to circle the feet and circle the wrists, opening up new energy into this part of the body, and we'll be back in just a few moments to help with more flexibility.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
My name is Michael Thorner, and I'm 49 years old. I am experiencing inflexibility and mobility issues in the morning when I wake up, largely because I go to the gym and perhaps I'm not stretching enough, or I'm looking for ways to actually increase my mobility. And I've taken a couple yoga courses, and I'm intrigued by what I can learn here.
Welcome back to Healing Yoga. Today's episode, we're working with morning flexibility. So, Michael, what are the most challenging situations you have in the morning with your flexibility?
Well, I commute to work. I commute everywhere on my bicycle. And I have flexibility and mobility issues with my hip and with my knees. Getting on the bike, riding, going any distances, I do feel it now. And for the last couple of years, I've been feeling it in the hips and in the knees.
Wow. Well, these next few moves are going to change your whole situation in the morning, Michael. Let's come to hands and knees for cows and cats. It's nice to have the knees and the hips and the feet in alignment. So just have a look down and see that everything is in a straight line. And then take the fingers and spread them wide apart and let the hands be a little bit forward of the shoulders. Press down into all of the fingers and the base of the fingers, and the whole palm is a little bit more light on the mat. Next time an out breath comes along, we're going to take the sit bones down towards the ground and let the back arch up like a Halloween cat. And then an in-breath comes along and we take the sit bones and tailbone up to the sky. We open up the front of the spine and we let ourselves open through the collarbones. Let's go back and forth a couple of times, cows and cats. Slow the breaths down and feel the breath opening up the front of the spine. Feel the breath moving into the discs in between the bones of the spine. Feel this wonderful sense of loosening up all of the muscles and connective tissue around the spine, around where the spine and the pelvis come together, and into the hips and the legs. Just feel this wonderful movement opening and clearing some energy channels. We're going to be moving the sit bones and tailbone down and arching the back up like a Halloween cat on the out breath. Then the in-breath comes and we go into cow. Lift the tailbone and the sit bones up. Let the belly open, let the heart open, broaden through the collarbones. And then an out-breath comes along. Move back into the Halloween cat. This is a wonderful way to create some flexibility in the spine, in the hips, and in the knees. When we first wake up, the hips, the knees, and the spine are usually very stiff. For me, it's very hard to get out of bed first thing. My knees are very achy and creaky, and I don't feel like I have as much range of motion in my body. So moving into cows and cats can really release the spine. And once we release the spine, the whole body starts to let go of that gripping, and that stagnant energy that we've cultivated over the night because we haven't been moving is starting to move out, making room for some fresh energy to come in. Now let's come back to neutral spine. And then we're going to take the left leg out and press the heel out. Spread the toes. And then an out breath comes along. We'll let that knee come back down. Then the right leg comes back long. Inhale. Open up the front of the hip. Press the heel. Lengthen the back of the leg. Spread the toes. And exhale, come back down. Inhale. Let the left leg come long and let the right arm come up, palm facing in. Reach out and then come on back down. Opposite side. Other leg comes up. Arm is coming up as well. Reach out and strengthen all of the muscles in the arms and the legs. Feel yourself awakening. Coming back down. Now, let's move the hips from side to side. You can take the knees a little bit wider, and we're just getting some synovial fluid built up in the hip joints. And then we'll take circles with the hips. So we're just moving in one direction a few times. Looking at the range of motion in the hip sockets, the way that the heads of the femurs, the upper leg bones, move inside the hip joint. Let's go in the opposite direction now. Using the breath to breathe light and spaciousness into any areas that are calling out for attention. Moving very slowly and mindfully, bringing all of your awareness and attention into the areas that are a little bit stiff, a little bit tight. And you may be noticing that with every cycle that we do here, things get a little bit easier. That synovial fluid is starting to release and make things a little bit more fluid. Please continue to do your cats and your cows and lubricate the hip sockets. And we'll be back in just a few moments to stretch the hamstrings and the backs of the legs.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Hi, my name's Joan D'Souza. I'm 54 years old, and I have some morning stiffness and some difficulties getting up out of a sitting position or standing or going up and down stairs. I would like to be able to get up in the morning and be more flexible and be able to move without feeling any pain or stiffness in my joints, in my knees or my back. And so the yoga has helped improve with circulation and mobility.
Welcome back to Healing Yoga. Today's episode, we're working with morning flexibility routines. Joan, what are the activities that you find really challenging in the morning?
I drive to work and I get into the car and it only takes about 15 minutes. But when I stop and park and get out, it's very stiff to get out of the car and to stand up and get moving.
So the hips and the legs.
Mobile.
Wow. I think this next sequence, Supta Padangusthasana, the hamstring stretches, is going to be phenomenal for this problem. So we'll come on to our backs and we'll take a yoga rope. Or you can use an old bathrobe tie so we can come on down to our backs. And we'll let the right leg come up and we'll take the rope onto the ball of the big toe and the ball of the baby toe. And then we can just hold on to the tie or the rope so that the arm is nice and long. The arm is long, yes. And we're grounding the shoulder blade. So now let's just see if we can keep the right leg bent. The rising leg is a little bit bent. We'll let the other arm come down. And then we'll press the ball of the big toe into the belt, the ball of the baby toe into the belt, and we'll resist back with the belt. Let the knee be bent if you've got any tightening and very uncomfortable feelings in the hamstrings. We don't want there to be anything going into the pain zone because it takes about 1.5 years to fix a hamstring injury. So we want to treat the hamstrings with a lot of respect and tenderness. Continue to point the ball of the big toe up into the belt and resist back with the belt into the ball of the big toe. And then keeping the rising foot up, you may want to try to let your left leg come long. So let your left leg come long, press the heels out, spread the toes nice and wide, and then give that bottom leg an inner spiral. Now we're going to go to the head of the right femur, the rising leg, and we're going to rotate it externally deep inside the hip socket. So the knee turns out, the toes turn out, and then as we're grounding on this side, we're going to begin to let the leg come out. Couple of breaths here. Go to the place where there's a little bit of discomfort, but not too much. And then we'll breathe. Light and spaciousness, expanding into the whole inner line of the leg. Pressing the foot into the belt and the belt into the foot. Exhaling completely and letting all of that tension drain out down into the ground. Wonderful. Coming back to center, we'll switch legs. Left leg comes up and the ball of the big toe and the ball of the baby toe are making contact with the belt. And then we can just hold on to the rope or the bathrobe tie very gently. Taking the sit bone down and pointing it toward the grounded foot will give the leg a tiny bit of an external rotation. You can keep this knee bent. Let's bend this a little bit more, Joan. How's that? Yes. Isn't that wonderful? That feels a little bit better. Then pressing the ball of the big toe into the belt, the ball of the baby toe, resisting back against the belt. Long, slow, smooth in breath. Long, slow, smooth, and complete out breath. If you'd like to lengthen the right leg and take your hand and place it on your hip so that you can really feel grounded there, you can put it on the top of your hip if you like. And then going to the head of the femur of the left leg, externally rotating that femur. The knee comes out, the toe comes out. We're grounding here on the right, and then we open out to the left. We go to the place where there's a boundary between comfort and discomfort. We don't go too far, and we don't want the pelvis to come out of alignment. We'd like the pelvis to be grounding and even on both sides, and then we can press the ball of the big toe into the belt and resist back. Wonderful. Let's come back to center. And then we'll release the belt, bend the knee, take the foot to the floor, bend both knees, and rock back and forth a few times. This is going to be a real boon for you to increase your flexibility. The hamstrings we don't really think about because they're behind us, and we don't look at them when we see ourselves in the mirror. But these muscles can really contribute to morning stiffness and inflexibility. If you stretch your hamstrings in the morning, it will really serve you for the whole day. It does seem like a bit of a chore to be stretching first thing in the morning because you want to just get your coffee and get into the car and get on your merry way, but you're investing in your self-care when you take a few moments for a yoga practice in the morning. Now, let's roll over to the right and we'll rest for a moment on the right side. And then we take our top arm hand, we press it down into the ground, we come up on the opposite elbow, and we press our way up. If you'd like some help getting up, you can always use a chair. And we'll be moving into downward facing dog. So coming into downward facing dog on a chair, we can use the top part of the chair, grounding here with the hands. And then we're taking steps back. Heels are out, toes are in. We bend the knees and we take the sit bones back. We're lengthening the spine. Yes, let's take a few more steps back and bend the knees. How is that working for your hamstrings? Fantastic. External rotation of the upper arm bones and broadening through the collarbones. If you aren't using a chair, we can come into a downward facing dog on the feet and the hands. So getting the sit bones to come back while actually, you know what? Let's take your hands forward. Let's take your hands forward. Great. Let's have wider feet. Let's have wider feet. Bend the knees, take the sit bones back and let yourself get nice and long in the spine. Wonderful. The spine is also moving into the neck and the head, broaden through the collarbones. External rotation of the upper arm bones. Yes. Downward facing dog is a wonderful everything pose. It is flushing our lymphatic system beautifully. It's an inversion, going upside down. It's also a wonderful stretch for the whole back line of the body. And when we open up the collarbones and open up the heart, it's a wonderful back bend as well. We are going to be coming back in a few moments. Please continue to take variations of downward facing dog. We'll be back in a moment for our warm down.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Upon waking, get moving to increase morning flexibility. Even just a few sun breaths or half sun salutes will make a big difference. Welcome back to Healing Yoga. In today's episode, we've been giving you some more flexibility in the morning so that you can enjoy your whole day in a loose and limber kind of way. We've been working with the upper body, arms and the hands. We've been working with the spine and getting lots of length and openness. And we've also been working with the lower extremities as well. Now we're going to come down and we're going to be working with the hips and going into a back bend that's going to give us a lot of energy because we're going to be charging up into the adrenal glands. So let's come down to our backs and we'll try to get the feet and the hips and the knees in a line. Then we'll take the heels and we'll move them out just a little bit. So the bridge pose is creating this action of a squeeze of the lower back and the glutes and the hamstrings. And we're pulling the pubic bone and the hip points up to the sky. So the next exhalation that comes along, press your hands down into the ground, press your feet into the ground, and then begin to lift your pelvis up. Lengthen the back of the neck. Make sure that the knees are coming in and are still in alignment with the hips. Take a few breaths here. Going to the glutes, squeezing. The low back, squeezing. The pubis symphysis and the hip points are rising up as we use the breath to really open up the fronts of the hips. Exhale completely. Feel the belly come to the front spine. And then the in-breath feels so nourishing and opening. Next time an out-breath comes along, press down into the toes as well as the heels. Energize. And then begin to come down vertebra by vertebra, letting the hips rest. And relax here. Let's lengthen the legs one at a time. Lengthen the legs out. Shake them out. And then rest. Let the shoulder blades come down the back one at a time and let the upper arms rotate externally, letting the palms face the sky. Let the back of your neck get nice and long. And then just feel yourself surrendering into the ground. Let go of the jaws, let go of the eyes, let go of the whole face. And we'll take a long, slow, smooth in-breath into the legs, the feet, the hips, and the back, breathing in light and spaciousness. Long, slow, smooth in-breath into the belly, into the heart, the lungs, and the arms and hands, breathing in light and spaciousness. Exhaling tension and gripping. A long, slow, smooth in-breath into the neck and the face, the whole head and the brain. Exhaling the last remnants of tension and the last remnants of holding. Please continue to enjoy Shavasana for at least another 5 minutes before you begin the day. And let all of that wonderful energy and prana penetrate all of the cells of your body so you can enjoy your whole day. See you again on Healing Yoga. Namaste.